Hi, I'm David D'Angelo. Welcome to the Double Your Dating Mastery Program. I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for investing in this program. Over the last several years of writing books and teaching all around the country and all around the world, I've come to realize that there's more to this particular area of knowledge and learning than meets the eye. There are a lot of things that aren't apparent when you first start learning it. As you're going to hear me talk about, newbies, when they start learning something, they always want to learn the tricks. They always want to learn the flashy techniques. Well, once you learn those flashy techniques, you find out that there's something more to it. They don't always work. There's something deeper. And at this program, I'm going to address a lot of the deeper levels. I'm going to talk a lot about the personal levels, the unconscious levels, the theory. And I've also invited some of the guys who you might consider to be the best in the world to share with you a lot of amazing tricks and techniques. We're going to get to those. So I wrote you a letter, and I want to read it to you. I call this an open letter to a frustrated guy. I think you're here because you have a problem, a pain, a frustration that you'd like to get handled. I think that the problem of not having success with women is like a virus running on your mental computer system in the background. Everything runs through it and is corrupted by it, and it bogs the entire system down. I also suspect that you're here because you're looking for a technique, a secret trick, something that's going to magically fix everything and give you all the success you ever wanted. And I think you have your fingers crossed that I or one of my guests is going to reveal it. In other words, I think you want a quick fix, and I think you're hoping that it's here. Further, I think that the reality is that you already probably know far more than the average guy, and probably even more than most guys who are very successful with women. You already know the tricks. You already know what you need to do, but you're just not using it. And actually, I think you know that the problem isn't that you need more techniques. I think that at some level you realize that the problem is something bigger, something more intense, something more difficult to face. I think you know that you're using one or more secret reasons to justify your inability to have success with women, and that they somehow give you a kind of depressing comfort. Because if you fail at this, you can always fall back on your secret reason. I knew it. I knew this wouldn't work for me. I think that most people go to therapists so they can hear the words, "I understand. I'd feel the same way if I were in your situation." And so they can explain and justify the way they are, not to change. But I'm not going to settle for that here. I'm not going to settle for you walking out of here saying, "Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to learn anything that's going to help me. I'm just going to have to accept that this is an area that I'll never have together in life." I'm not going to accept that. We're going to do whatever it takes. Commit to yourself. Step one. Before we get into the material, I want you to take a moment and consider the series of events and the reasons why you're going through this program. Okay, maybe close your eyes for this one. Okay? Consider the series of events and the reasons why you're going through this program. I know you didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I think I'm going to get myself a program to teach me how to meet women." If you're anything like me, you've spent a lot of time, effort, and energy trying to figure out the female of our species. I'd like to invite you to really reflect on the years you've spent in your life trying things that didn't work, starting something, then dropping it a few days or weeks later because you just didn't have what it took to stick with it, and beating your head against the wall. Even think of those times where you learned something and you really got it down, and you took the time to learn it, but then you stopped doing it for a while and you lost it, and then you just walked away from it. If you're like me, then you've probably gotten to the point where you're ready to make your success the level that I'm going to call mastery. I want you to really reflect on where you are, and more importantly, on where you want to go. Now, make the commitment to yourself to spend at least the next 90 days working with this program every single day. Every day for the next 90 days. Make a commitment to yourself that you're going to go through it at least 3 times, you're going to implement what you learn, and you're going to take control of this area of your life. I actually want you to say yes with me when I count to 3. I want you to say yes with me and actually say out loud, I want you to affirm with your voice that you're going to do this. 1, 2, 3. Yes. I trust that. I just have to slip in there one more time. Today is going to be about theory. We're going to talk about a lot of concepts. We're going to do some practical exercises, but we're going to go very deep. Today is all about you. It's all about you. Theories, awareness, and change. Many of the things I'm going to personally teach you in this program are theoretical, abstract, and complex. Many of the concepts are outside the realm of quote-unquote scientific or proven. In many cases, I'm going to pose ideas to you that have no action step or direct application to your interactions with women. Now, why would I say and do these things? I've come to believe that the process of successfully attracting a mate is the single most powerful underlying force in human psychology, behavior, and motivation. This drive is very complex, multidimensional, counterintuitive, and ironic. In fact, it's so powerful and pervasive that one could actually view every thought, communication, and behavior, no matter how grand or trivial, as part of an intricate mating ritual. I want you to start watching everything that happens around you and think of it as part of an intricate, complex mating ritual. It'll put a completely different spin on the ball. I've made it my purpose to learn as much as I can about this particular process. First, so I can be successful myself, and second, so I can teach other guys effectively. In the process of learning the secrets of how to successfully attract women, I've realized that by addressing some of these more abstract and conceptual levels, a guy can not only learn how to attract women better and faster, he can also become more whole and integrated as a man. I also believe that sometimes just having an awareness of something can trigger a snowball effect and lead to incredible change, development, and evolution. I learned that from Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey teaches that awareness itself can build momentum. A lot of my purpose today is to just have you become aware of what's going on around you, aware of some of the processes that are happening in your mind, aware of some of the emotional and psychological automated processes that are happening that you're not even aware of. I fully expect that the first half of this program is going to challenge your mind and emotions, and it's going to make you think in ways you've never thought before. But stick with it. Not only will this material change you on a more fundamental level, it'll also prepare your mind for the incredible specific insights and step-by-step techniques that you're going to learn in the second half. And these techniques are literally going to blow your mind. We're going to be covering women and dating. We're not going to talk about relationships. In this program, I'm going to stretch the edge of that a little bit. I'm going to talk about some of the things to do when you find a woman that you really like and you'd actually like to extend that into a relationship, but we're going to stick with the topic of women and dating. That's going to be our focus. Section 1 is about clearing blocks from the mind, body, and emotions. It's about you. Section 2 is about learning the subtle dynamics of interpersonal interactions. Section 3 is about learning the strategies of mastery, and Section 4 is about learning the specific step-by-step techniques in detail. If you watched my advanced series, which I hope you did, you remember the joke was, when are we going to get to the pickup lines? The pickup lines are at the end, so pay attention. In fact, pickup lines are the very last thing we talk about. Attraction still isn't a choice. I started my Advanced Dating Techniques program, which I hope you watched or listened to because it's the foundation for this program, with the words, attraction isn't a choice. Well, it still isn't. But men are still acting like it is. Men are still acting like they can convince women to feel attraction for them. In this program, we're going to go down deep inside of your mind to uproot once and for all those programs that are leading you to chasing women, giving away your power, and ultimately ruining your own chances with them. Okay? I can't believe it. Guys that know this stuff, are still acting like attraction is a choice. They can sit there and tell me, I get it. You know, the woman's not choosing consciously to feel attraction, and then they go try to convince her to feel it. We got to get rid of that, okay? Let's have another yes. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Mastery is about a personal commitment to long-term success. Mastery in this area of life comes from a deeper understanding of the principles, mindsets, and strategies. Techniques are not the focus, although you'll hear a lot of them. This program is meant to be reviewed several times. It's a reference. You'll start getting your best results after 3, 4, 5, or more times through it. Notice how the meaning changes as you evolve and it becomes more profound. I want you to notice specifically, each time you go through this program, how the meaning changes. I want you to notice how you hear things differently, especially the things we're going to talk about in this section. I want you to notice how they become more profound, more meaningful, more relevant to everything. Taking control. Isn't this about taking control? Isn't that what we all really want to do, is take control? We feel out of control. Mastery is about taking control. It's about getting to the point where you don't feel helpless or out of control in a situation. It's about getting to the point where you control your own destiny instead of feeling like it's controlled for you. It's about moving from effect to cause, from watching things happen to making things happen, and from hoping and wishing to realizing. The commitment to mastery in this area, or any other area, is the commitment to take control of your own life. The source of this program. I've spent a lot of years studying psychology, behavior. I've spent the last 6 years, probably 7 years, really trying to figure out the dynamics of women in dating, how to become more effective, how to get this area of my life handled. Now, a lot of the other things that I've spent my time studying, like psychology and personal development and self-help and behavior, a lot of that stuff, you hear me share it. I don't share it as much as I'm going to in this program. Okay, this program, I'm going to go into more of my personal experience. I'm going to take you through some of my personal journey, some of the things that have really helped me to get this area handled. Okay, so it's kind of exciting because I don't usually get to let people in this far behind the scenes. So in a way, this is kind of the final step, or one of the latest and best steps, probably not the final step, in a personal journey that's very exciting for me. You've heard things like you can't change other people, you can only change yourself. Okay, I really buy into that idea. I really think that idea is the place to start. And I think that once you have changed yourself and once you have learned how to affect yourself, that you become much more effective at changing things that happen around you. Mastery by George Leonard. I'm going to read you another quote from this. I read one in my advanced series. Start with something simple. Try touching your forehead with your hand. That's easy, automatic, nothing to it. But there was a time when you were as far removed from the mastery of that simple skill as a non-pianist is from playing a Beethoven sonata. First, you had to learn to control the movements of your hands. You were just a baby then. And somehow get them to move where you wanted them to. You had to develop some sort of kinesthetic image of your body so that you could know the relationship between your forehead and other parts of your body. You had to learn to match this image with the visual image of an adult's body. You had to learn how to mimic your mother's actions. Momentous stuff, make no mistake about it. And we haven't yet considered the matter of language learning to decode sounds shaped as words and to match them to our own actions. Only after all this could you play the learning game that parents everywhere play with their children. Where's your nose? Where are your ears? Where's your forehead? As with all significant learning, this learning was measured not in a straight line, but in stages. Brief spurts of progress separated by periods during which you seemed to be getting nowhere. Still, you learned an essential skill. What's more important, you learned about learning. You started with something difficult and made it easy and pleasurable through instruction and practice. You took a master's journey, and if you could learn to touch your forehead, you could learn to play a Beethoven sonata or fly a jet plane, to be a better manager or improve your relationships. Our current society works in many ways to lead us astray, but the path of mastery is always there, waiting for us. Why mastery? Why did I choose mastery? Why not just leave it at the advanced series? I mean, that was pretty deep stuff. Because I think that when we want to learn something new in our lives, we go through a few phases. Again, we first try to learn the tricks. We want the quick fix. We want the magic techniques that will instantly solve our problems. We want the pill. Then after learning the tricks, you realize that there's still something wrong. When you're beating your head up against the wall and it's just not working, you seek more in-depth knowledge. This is when people usually get my advanced series. But then once you get some level of skill in a particular area, you begin to realize that there must be a deeper level of understanding, a deeper level that's connected to other things, a deeper level that ties everything together, that ties not only the subject you're learning to itself, but also everything else in the world and your life to each other. You realize that there must be something bigger at work. You realize that maybe there are other areas you can develop that will strengthen the area that you're trying to develop. Keep that thought in mind, strengthening other areas of your life to strengthen the area you're trying to develop. That's what this program is about. We're going to address many of those areas, and the first place we're going to start is what I'm going to call the deep inner game. The first step on the road to mastery might be the very hardest, the very first one. And this goes right to the heart of the deep inner game, right to the heart of dealing with yourself. The first step involves discomfort, anxiety, even pain. The first step on the road to mastery is to admit that you do not want to do all the things that are going to be required for you to reach mastery. First step is to admit it. I'm not going to want to do all that stuff. You got to come to grips with it. It's to come to grips with the fact that there are going to be a lot of things that are going to be physically, emotionally, and psychologically uncomfortable along the path, and that you're going to do them anyway. It's to make a personal commitment that you're going to do whatever it takes, no matter how much you don't want to do it in the moment, to reach your objective. And my question to you right now, go inside for a second, close your eyes. Can you take the hardest step? Can you take it? I'm not going to ask you to say yes out loud because it's a very personal decision. If you can't take it right now, it might be time to wait a little while, put it off, not get involved. If you can't take this step, the others aren't going to work for you. Here's a concept I've been thinking about a lot lately. I call it transition vulnerability. Transition vulnerability. Men don't typically like the word vulnerability. When a butterfly is coming out of its cocoon, or a baby is being born, or a snake is shedding its skin, these are the times when they're the most sensitive, the most vulnerable, the most disoriented, the most afraid, the most uncomfortable. A friend of mine just told me a story very recently when I was talking to him about this. He says he has cats, and he says he's noticed something amazing. He says a cat is an incredible animal. It's incredibly agile. It can go from standing on a floor to jumping up 6 feet and landing on a little tiny windowsill and then walking perfectly and then twisting around and jumping and landing on its feet. You know what I'm talking about, right? A cat is an amazingly agile animal. And he has several of them. And he says, but the interesting thing is that when a cat walks into a new room that it's never been in before, just walks in, it can be a clear room with nothing in it. What does the cat do? It stops. And all of its senses, all of its agility all go away because it has to process the new environment. And he said that the cat walks into the new room and it starts looking around, and it's almost as if it's operating in slow motion as it takes in everything around it. And then the next time into the room, it's working a little faster. And the next time, until finally, what happens? Then it can jump up onto the ledge without even thinking about it. But what had to happen first? Most people don't ever think about what had to happen first. They just go, oh, look at that cat jumping up on the ledge and on the roof and running around like it's... Transition vulnerability. So what does transition vulnerability mean to you? It means that you're probably going to feel it. It means that as you're going through these steps, you're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to try things that are going to freak you out. We're going to talk about issues, and then you're going to get out there into the world, and they're going to come up for you. And you're going to realize that you are powerless and helpless in certain situations. You're going to be all freaked out. What do most people do when they run into transition vulnerability? They go inside, they hide, they close up, they go, you know what, I'm shutting that out. They repress it. Okay? I want you to be aware of transition vulnerability. Okay? Don't worry about it. It's just a step you got to go through. Just like the cat, you'll become more accustomed to the environment, to the room, and eventually it'll be second nature to you. The next concept, I want to talk about something that I call a development detour. All right? And I call it a development detour because in order to develop, sometimes you have to take, you guessed it, a detour. I get a lot of guys that say things like, you know, David, some of the things you're saying are pretty good, but I don't like the idea of having to learn stuff that doesn't feel like me. I feel like I'm manipulating people or I'm being inauthentic. Well, I want to give you a new model for that.
Most people want to stay on the road that they're on. And what I'm going to suggest is that we take a little development detour. And that's this area right here. Okay? We're going to go off the main path for a little while. We're going to take a psychological detour. We're going to take time to learn a new skill. We're going to step out of our old reality and we're going to step into a new one for a little while. Okay? We're going to go into fantasy land where we can try anything. We can imagine doing different things that we never would have thought of doing before. We can see how they feel. We can even go out and test them out. Okay? We can have permission to walk up to a woman and say crazy stuff that you never thought you'd say just to see what happens. Not even looking for a result. Don't even worry about what happens. Okay? You're taking a development detour. It might take you a week. You might take a month. Some people are in it for years. I know people that are in the development detour for life. Everything they say is a freak show. Okay? You'll have a lot of fun when you take development detours. Okay? You'll have a lot of fun. You'll learn to enjoy it. Okay? So, in your mind, don't get too attached to yourself. Just imagine right now veering off and taking a quick little development detour. It's okay to learn and do things that don't feel like you while you're learning. From focus to integration. Mastery requires intensive focus for a time, then eventually integration with the rest of your life. Okay? Think hub and nodes, from the hub to a node. Think planet and solar system. I'll give you another visual for this. So, this is a hub and nodes kind of a setup here. Okay? This is the hub. These are the nodes. What a lot of people do when they have an area like this in their life is they make it the hub, they make it the center, they make it everything. But then they forget to integrate it and then just make it a part. They integrate it into their life. They stay focused on this too much. They get too into it. They make it too much a part of their identity. Okay, mastery is about not only making it excellent, okay, being the best at it, but then just making it into one of the nodes of your life. Okay? It's not the center of your universe, it's not the center of your solar system, it's just one of the planets that's going around it. So before we get into it too deep, I want you to remember that don't take this too seriously. Okay? Don't get too attached to it. Take it seriously for a time, make it your main point, do whatever it takes to get the skills you need, but then integrate it. Make it part of your life. I know a few guys, probably a few of them in this room that are my friends, I might even be one of them, that got a little too into this stuff. You know, doing something like this can turn into a drug because it gives you an adrenaline rush. Okay? You can get connected to it. So just become conscious of that. Don't get too addicted to the stuff that we're talking about. Don't get too addicted to the techniques. I'm going to give you a 5-step formula right now that's taken me many years to figure out. Okay? This is a 5-step formula for personal evolution. This is 5 steps that I use when I'm personally trying to get something and evolve. And I think that it's important to write these down, put them next to your computer monitor, review them on a regular basis. This one's important. Number 1, imitate the best until you're getting consistent results. Every word here is intentional. Imitate the best until you are getting consistent results. Imitate the best until you're getting consistent results. Imitate. Do exactly what they're doing. The best. Find the best and imitate them until you're getting consistent results. Okay? Until you can track your results, you can say, okay, every 10 women that I walk up to and talk to, I can get 6 of their phone numbers, or I can get 3 of them to make out with me, or whatever it is you're trying to do. Consistent results. Step 2, learn how to make finer and finer distinctions until you can clearly see how and why each approach works in each situation. Learn how to make finer and finer distinctions until you can clearly see why each approach works. When you're imitating the best, you're learning things. All the information is coming in. You're learning how to do things step by step. After you learn it and you're getting consistent results, that's the point when you can start saying, okay, now why is this working and why is this not working? Why did that work? Why is it when guys do this? That's when you want to start making finer and finer distinctions. Step 3, learn to assign higher and lower values to behaviors, results, mistakes to create an internal system that will guide you. Step 3 is to create a values system. A values system. What is high value? What is medium high value? What is low value? And rank things. If you don't have a values system, you'll know a lot of cool stuff, but what you won't know is how important is it to use this thing in that situation? What should I avoid over here? What should I do here? The values system trips a lot of guys up. Okay? One of the things that I teach is the idea of being cocky and funny, okay, or cocky comedy, or arrogant humor. Just being ballsy, saying irreverent things that are really damn funny. I don't say be funny and funny, and I don't say be cocky and cocky. I say both. And I've watched guys who say, yeah, I've listened to your material, I'm really good with this stuff, blah, 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 and I can do it, and I can interact with women, and I'm not really getting, results that are that good. I say, all right, well, maybe let me watch you interact, or let me hear about it, or tell me some of the things that you do. And what do I find out? They're just being funny. That's it. They're using self-deprecating humor, they're putting themselves down, they're just being a goofball. They're not being cocky and funny. And I said be cocky and funny. Cocky, it's very important. And they say, well, yeah, but I'm doing all the other stuff and, okay, no values system. So you need to create an internal values system to guide you. Step 3, learn to create variations of great ideas and to combine great elements of great ideas to evolve improved versions. Okay, so the next step is to create variations on a theme and to combine ideas to come up with your own unique versions that work well for you. You can improve something that's great a lot easier and a lot better than you can start over from scratch and create something brand new. So step 4 is to take what you've learned, all these great things, and combine them, use your values system, use the distinctions that you've learned to create new variations. And step 5 is, guess what? To innovate. Step 5 is to come up with your own ideas. Now, what do most people do when they start learning something? What do they want to do? They want to innovate and create the new stuff first. The first thing that most people do when they're learning something, especially if they're smart, anybody in this listening to this program smart? Raise your hand if you're smart. Yeah, okay. What's the first thing smart people do? That wouldn't work for me. I think I'm going to try something else. Let me try it my way. I've learned there's a lot of folly sometimes in being really intelligent. I think that for some reason, we humans are wired up, and again, especially when we're smart, to do these in reverse, okay? And just go through them with me. Innovate first. Create variations next. Assign higher value next. Make fine distinctions next. Imitate the best last. And why do we finally go and imitate the best? Because nothing else worked. The formula for consistent luck. The formula for consistent luck. Experience plus expertise plus great mentors plus access to great advice equals luck. 4 things. I want you to write them down. Make a note. Expertise plus experience plus great mentors plus access to great advice equals luck. The things that I'm talking about right now are universal principles. These apply in all areas of life. This one right now I'm currently using to improve the double your dating business. This is a formula I use in my life. Expertise and experience. Expertise is knowing what to do, knowing the stuff. Experience is having done it for a while. Great mentors are people that are several years ahead of you who have taken a personal interest in helping you succeed. And then access to great advice. access to great advice. And what I'm going to recommend is, of course, not only listen to this program over and over, but meet some of the people in this room. Some of the guys in this room are literally the best in the whole world. Of course, that's my opinion, but I think after you meet them and you watch them in action, you'll agree with me. Now, you may not be able to make these guys into your best friends because they've got a lot of people who want to be their best friend. But what you might be able to do is get access to their advice by getting their number and paying them. Maybe pay them for a half hour, an hour here and there. Access to great advice, to world-class advice, gives you an incredible advantage. Masters can walk into a situation and appear to create magic. It looks like they're getting lucky far too often. The counterintuitive nature of wisdom and expertise and how doing the obvious thing... Let me try this again. Doing the obvious thing doesn't always serve you. Okay? The nature of wisdom and expertise is very counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive. I like that word, counterintuitive. It means doing the thing that seems like the thing to do isn't the thing that works. Doing the thing that seems like it won't work is often the road to success. And you'll find that masters in all fields often do things that are very counterintuitive. 80% of what they'll do, you'll go, oh yeah, that makes sense, it's intuitive, whatever. The other 20% is counterintuitive. But the counterintuitive stuff is done at all those critical moments. All the critical moments. The best thing to do in a situation isn't usually the obvious thing. Masters do counterintuitive things, things that wouldn't be natural for others. The master makes success look almost effortless, which leads novices to assume that what he is doing is easy and simple. Don't be fooled into believing that it's not complex just because it looks easy. When you spend years combining expertise, experience, great mentors, and access to great advice, you'll start getting lucky all the time. In your mind right now, I want you to put a little mental note. When I'm watching a master do something that I don't know how to do, it's going to look easy. Don't let that fool you. Don't let it fool you. It only looks easy. Take control of your personal evolution. 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 Inscribe that on the inside of your head. Take control of my personal evolution. I've got to take control of my evolution. Not only of my life, my evolution. Seek the history of things you're interested in learning. Seek the history. Become a student of your interests. After learning how the current models evolved and After learning how the current models evolved and becoming competent, you'll begin to have what I'll call future vision, and you'll be able to see how things will evolve. This will lead to what I'll call situational predictive powers. You'll be able to see the possible scenario outcomes and then behave accordingly. The most important place to use this is in your own life. Review your own personal evolution and then take control of it in the future. Evolution means not only to evolve, but to transcend and to include. One of the most fascinating things that I have learned is that when you really master something, when you really get into it and you learn everything about what happened in the past and how things got to the point that they're at right now, and you learn a lot of different ways of looking at it, you learn different models, sometimes conflicting models, you begin to have, it's like Neo in the Matrix, you begin to be able to see the future. You can see the way things are going to turn out. You can walk into situations, in this case with women, you can start interacting with a woman, and instead of being like, oh, she's not into me, whatever, and walking away, and you can understand what's happening. If she's not into you, you go, she's not into me. Time to cut this one loose. And it's over. You walk away. Not because she rejected you or you took it personally, because you know what's about to happen. It's already all played out. Yeah, you know what? She's not happy. She's in a relationship, and it's tying her down, and she's not the kind of person I want to be around, and it's going to take too long to... I'm over it. Again, learn the history. Learn everything that's come before you. Learn all the different models. Accept different models. Learn different ways of looking at things. Accept conflicting views. Once you understand it all, and then you become really good at it, and you watch other people doing it, again, you can see where things will go. You can see where things will be in a year, 2, 5, 10 years. You get really good at seeing these things. And it's not magic. It's not some kind of psychic power. It's just that you know what's going on. You now know more than anybody else. It's a very powerful feeling. So study the history. Study your personal history. And start learning how to see things better. 2 ways of winning. I realized a few months ago that there are 2 ways of winning. That win has 2 different kind of connotations. Number 1 is winning to beat someone else. Okay? Winning to beat someone. And number 2 is winning to succeed in reaching a goal or getting what you want. The objective here is to get you to the point where you have the kind of success that you want for yourself. I want you to win. We're not looking to learn how to beat others here. That's counterproductive and distracting in this context. We're not looking to learn how to beat others here. That's counterproductive and distracting in this concept. Sure is good that I got the videotape rolling, isn't it? Come on, laugh. Give me some courtesy laughter. All right, thank you. You know, I need you to be able to do courtesy laughter on demand. I need it to sound real, okay? So, courtesy laughter. Thank you. All right, good. We're not looking to learn how to beat others here. That's counterproductive and distracting in this context. Finally, you need to move from this as the center of your life to this as part of your life. Okay? So I want you to win. I want you to get what you want. I want you to succeed. I don't want you to win by beating others. I don't want you to compare yourself to others. I don't want you to use that. I think that strategy is not very useful in this situation. Does that red light on that camera mean that I need to, that we're going to switch up the videotapes? Yes? No? No? Okay. Where is the red light that I'm going to be looking? Where is the red light I'm going to be seeing? That's, the big giant one right there? It's standing in the middle of everything? Okay, great. Courtesy laughter? Thank you. You know what? Here's what I want to do. I want you guys to watch. I don't want to have to say it because that's cheesy. Okay? I want to be able to go like this. All right, thanks. It seems a little more real that way. Speaking of real, what's with real dolls? I guess you guys didn't get it. Let's just eliminate that from the actual product, okay? Improve the quality of your life and become more attractive to women. Humans catch emotions from each other. We catch them. If you're always down, people won't want to be around you because you bring them down. If you're always up, people will want to be around you so that you can bring them up, so that they can catch some of this emotion. Improving the quality of your life, which leads to being happier and more satisfied, makes you a more interesting and attractive person. What does quality of life come down to? There are a few models for what quality of life is. If your perspective is that more pleasure improves the quality of your life, then physical pleasure, emotional pleasure, and mental pleasure will increase the quality of your life. This will involve having challenges and meeting them, receiving love, getting physical affection and sex, and doing good. If your perspective is that attachment to reality is negative, then detachment or disidentification and losing your preferences is the answer. Transcending this world or life leads to the greatest quality of life. If your perspective is that giving of yourself is what improves quality of life, then doing for others will improve the quality of your life. If your perspective is that joy or enjoyment is what improves the quality of your life, then doing things that add joy to your life and keeping you in the flow state are the answer. Choose the path that improves your own personal quality and enjoyment of life, then stick to it. It will make you more attractive. I want you to be very selfish. I want you to improve your own life. I want you to improve the quality of your life. I want you to do whatever it takes to make your life great so you feel good about it. I want you to think of that in terms of winning for yourself. I think that too many people, again, compare themselves to everybody else. They look at what everybody else is doing. They try to figure out, okay, how can I do that stuff because that'll make me happy? Instead of actually looking at the things that make them happy, looking at the things that they feel will improve the quality of life, and then increasing those things. So I want you to give yourself permission right now to improve the quality of your own life. Stand out from the crowd. Make yourself happier. If the quality of your life is good, you will feel better, and you will become more attractive automatically. Flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi released a book called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. It was about 10 years ago. Flow is the feeling of being in the zone, of total immersion and involvement. It's a state that takes all of your attention, where time passes effortlessly. Some people report that things like reading books, surfing, playing an intense game of chess, they get into the flow. Everything falls away. They're completely involved, and they get enjoyment out of it. The elements. The challenge is matched well with your skills. You compete and compare results only with and to yourself, and it creates enjoyment or long-term satisfaction. In the book, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi makes a little visual. On this axis, we have skill. On this one, we have challenge. If the skill is high, but the challenge is low, we have boredom. High skill, low challenge equals boredom. If the challenge is high, but the skill is low, we have anxiety. Challenge is too high. Skill is low. So what's the answer? If you're dealing with things that are too challenging, you need to get more skill. If the challenge is high, you can't do it. You're feeling anxiety, get more skill. If you're bored because your skill is high, what do you need to do? Increase the challenge. If you're feeling anxiety in your life, it usually means that you need to get a skill. If you are feeling anxiety, it means you need to get a skill. If you're bored, if you feel boredom, that's the signal that you need more of a challenge. Understand? There's a zone right here. That's the flow zone, where the skill and the challenge meet. Now, you can increase the challenge a little, or you can increase the skill a little at the appropriate time to stay in that flow zone. And this, of course, is infinite. It's been a very useful model for me. A lot of people break down when they start feeling anxiety. They don't know what to do. They run out of options. They don't know where to go. Skill. It's just a skill. You just got to go out and get a skill. And I'll tell you, with almost 6 billion people running around on this planet, someone's figured out how to do it, and pretty well probably. And with the internet, you can get access to them, and probably within minutes start learning. You can start getting new skills. The journey to mastery. Joseph Campbell, who's the expert on myth, came up with a multi-step process. Took all the myths of the world, all the old stories, and he realized that they all followed a pattern. It all started out with an innocent or a symbolic child being separated, feeling called by some call, feeling the call to adventure, refusing the call, saying, I'm not ready, I don't want to go now. And then something happens, something triggers, something divine, it seems, them to step over the line of adventure and get out there and start making things happen. And of course, as soon as they make the commitment to step over the line into the adventure, what happens? They start meeting a lot of challenges. They start getting tested. And then friends show up, assistants. And then they run into some big challenge, a critical one. And they have to make a decision. They have to make a decision that is an internal decision, whether or not they're going to claim the thing they want the most. And then eventually, once they succeed in their journey, they return, they come back, they integrate, and they give back to others. They bring back the solution. And so I've made a variation of that, and I'm calling it the journey to mastery in this concept, and it's adapted from his hero's journey. And I want you to just think about this. I want you to think about all these steps, okay, because you're probably going to go through them on your journey to mastery. Step one is choosing what you want for yourself in this area consciously. You got to take responsibility. When you take responsibility for yourself and you choose, it makes you grow up. Internally, at some level, you have to grow up. You've got to go, okay, I got to be an adult now. It's a separation from that ideal state where you're not in control, so you have an excuse for everything. You have to choose your ethics consciously. You have to choose your ethics consciously. Some people are prone I think that there are certain even genetic reasons why some people are prone to do things that we might consider to be wild and crazy and even borderline unethical. And I think that there are some people that are kind of wired to just be on the straight and narrow and do everything like well inside the zone and be very safe. I think you got to choose your ethics, and I think ethics are very important. I personally think that if you've got a problem with ethics, I think if you don't get to work on it and you figure out how to get your ethics together, get your naturally lying mind under control, okay? Instead of taking advantage of people, offering value. I think if you don't get your ethics under control, you're in big trouble, long term. I think it's something that will ultimately wind up coming to bite you on the ass. You need to choose your values consciously. We talked about choosing your values earlier. You need to choose what you will and won't accept in your life. You need to set standards and draw boundaries. And you need to choose your own path. Okay, you need to choose your own path. Step 2, deciding to get what you want. Deciding on and describing the kind of woman you want in your life and the relationship that you want. Setting out on your own path, detaching from what others want and what others want for you. There are a lot of people in the world that want things for you that you don't want for yourself. Sometimes they want them badly enough that they're the one that winds up winning. You ever been in that place where you're like, now why the hell did I do it again? Why did I do what they want? Accepting that you might not impress others, etc., but that it doesn't matter. You have to accept that what you want for yourself might not impress anybody. In fact, other people might not like it. Then you have to make the commitment to get what you want for yourself no matter what. There's a lot of power in going inside and saying, this time I'm going to do it no matter what. I am going to do whatever it takes. And finally, realizing that ultimately no one in your life cares whether or not you're successful. You may have heard me say this before, but nobody cares whether or not you're successful, really. If you're lucky, you've got 1 or 2 people in your life. If you are lucky, and I mean lucky, like unbelievably lucky, that really, really, really care whether or not you're successful. Because you know what? In 5 years, you might wake up and you might be rich and surrounded by beautiful women or having that one beautiful woman that you really want in your life. The people in your life right now, they're still going to be you when you show up. They're going to still say, hey, what's going on? They're not going to care. And if 5 years from now, you're still where you're at, you don't have the kind of success you want, the people in your life, they're going to be like, hey, what's up? It doesn't matter to them, really. Okay? In fact, for most people, if you're really successful, they want to take shots at you. Read Donald Trump's new book. It's fascinating. He talks about how people get very jealous and they become very spiteful when you become successful, even if they don't know you, especially if they don't know you. Step 3 on the journey: hesitation, stalling, and rethinking. This is where fears, self-doubt, and change of heart takes place. At some point you realize this isn't going to be easy and that you're not going to get instant results. You're going to have some bad experiences. You're going to doubt that it's possible. You're going to doubt that it's possible for you. You're going to have to face your secret reason for failure. You're going to have to face that reason you keep in your head, that little secret reason that you don't tell anyone, that you use as your excuse when it doesn't work. Oh yeah, I knew it wouldn't work for me. It looks too big. It looks too complex. It looks like it's too much. It's overwhelming. At some point, you'll have to deal with your self-image. Yeah, I'm not one of those guys. I guess I'm just not cut out. No. And then you're going to have to deal with deserving and permission issues. You're going to have to deal with the fact that you don't feel like you deserve it. You're going to have to feel like no one's given you permission to do it, and therefore you don't. Shouldn't have it. Just part of the journey. Preparing. Once you finally commit, you get past all the doubts, you go, okay, I'm going to do this. You accept that you're going to need to step out of the situation mentally and be willing to learn and try things that might not feel like you. Knowing, of course, that you're going to keep some of what you learn and you might disregard some of what you learn. Enter the journey knowing that you might disregard a lot of what you learn. You might throw it away. 90% of the things you learn, you might not use in the future. You might just try them out. And that's okay. And part of preparation, learning the double your dating material, learning reframing, learning the self-image stuff, the techniques, some of the things you learn from some of the people in this room. Mental rehearsal, emotional rehearsal, physical practice, crutches, aids, things that help you move along. Preparing for the journey. Step 5, gathering your support team, the helpers, the reference group of guys who are good with women, your mentor, female friends, maybe even a counselor or a therapist on your team if you need to get some inner issues handled, somebody you can talk to. I'm going to talk later about making friends with attractive women and why it's so important. I think it's vital. I think you need a mentor. I think you need somebody who's years ahead of you that you can work with personally. I think it's important to find that person. And of course, I think it's good to surround yourself with a group of guys. This is very important, who are also on the journey with you. 6, the warrior phase, or learning by doing. Getting out there and actually using what you're learning. Identifying the areas you need work on and working on them. Leveraging your strengths, the physical, logical, the emotional strengths. Taking steps one at a time. Learning to lead. Learning how the critical moments and bridges actually feel and work. Learning the smooth transitions. Knowing what to do. The warrior phase. At some point, you're going to be out there in it. If it's approaching a lot of women and meeting them and that's your thing, you're going to be out there doing it a lot. And you're going to get a charge. You're going to start to feel a lot of progress. You're going to start to feel like you're moving forward. This is the warrior phase. The tests. Fears. The shadow, your dark side. In the next section, we're going to go deep into your shadow or your dark side. Your emotions, how they come up at critical times. Tests from women. Feminine distraction, confusion, emotions. Staying strong. Maintaining your composure. Making mistakes you know you shouldn't make and paying the price. Sacrifice. Something must die in order for something new to live. At some point, you're going to have to sacrifice something. Something you want to hold on to. Something that's very dear to you. Something at this point that you might not even be conscious that you're holding on to. Something must die in order for something else to live. You're going to have to sacrifice something. You're going to have to let go of it. Be ready. Be ready for the moment. Not that you can ever really prepare. Facing your ultimate fear and your ultimate desire. At some critical moment, right when you're on top of your game, right when you've got it the most together, when you feel like nothing could stop you, when you're just like there, you're the best, then you're going to get tested. Then the big one's going to come. When you finally find the woman you want, will you turn into a wuss and treat her, quote unquote, differently? Or pursue her or give away your power and drive her away because she's different? Once you do attract the right woman, will you take her and stay a real man? Or will you doubt what it has taken you this far and screw it up? Keeping what you want is far more difficult than getting what you want. Write it down. Keeping what you want is far more difficult than getting what you want. You know where I learned this? I learned this from a guy who is probably worth more money than if you took 99% of the people in this room or any other room and put them all together. An incredibly financially successful guy. The kind of guy that can literally have and live any lifestyle he wants. And he told me this in reference to money, because we were talking about money. And he said, keeping money is a lot harder than making money. And I thought, wow, keeping what you want in general is harder than getting it. Who in this room is real good with women and you've reached this point where you felt like you were on top of your game and then all of a sudden something happened, you went, oh my God, I've got an unbelievable test that you just never felt like you were ready for. Okay? It happens. Be ready for it. 9, returning and integrating. Keep what you like, disregard what isn't useful from the journey. Make the things that align with your values part of who you are permanently. Moving this from the center of your life to an integrated part of your life. Okay, at some point you're going to get it, you're going to be there, and you're going to go, ah. You know when you go on a trip somewhere with a group of people for a week or 2 weeks, and maybe they're people you don't know that well, but it's cool, and you have a lot of fun, and you know how you feel when you're coming back, when you're returning? You know when you're on your way back, and you're like, this is so awesome being with these people, this is so great, I had a great time. You probably went through the journey we talked about on the journey in some way, okay, because every trip like that is an adventure. And you start to feel that kind of melancholy feeling of like, oh man, this is going to be over, right? You get to that point where you go, wow, I got it. I understand. And that's the time when you get to decide to keep what you want, disregard what you don't want, and integrate it into your life. And the final step on the master's journey, the final step, and ultimately the one that gives you the most fulfillment, is giving back, is doing this, giving back to other people, teaching other guys to learn better yourself. When you teach, you learn at a level that you could not have learned when you were on the journey. You continue to be the real man that your woman wants into the future without letting her distract you or take you off base. And you move on to other journeys and adventures in your life. Okay, so giving back, bringing back the magic potion so that other people can have it. There's an interesting feeling you get when you take 10 years to learn something, and then you can give it back to someone else in 6 months or a year or 2 years. They can learn it. And you go, bastard. But I'll tell you what, there's no better feeling than to watch somebody else succeed and take all that stuff that you fought so hard for, learned, and take to the next level. And helping them, they have to go through their own journey. You have to allow people to go through their own journey, but you can help make the knocks a little easier. You can help them understand a little bit better. The power of the center. Centering, finding your center, being the center, centering, living in the middle of your own reality. This is a very important concept. It's something that I've spent the last several months really thinking about and working on. You're going to meet somebody later on today who is probably going to be talking later on in this part of the program. And it's a woman, and she is one of the most centered people that I know. I've learned a lot of this stuff from her. It's very powerful information. Find your center, center yourself, become the center. 3 very different concepts. Finding your center is about getting in touch with what you really want for your life and for yourself. It's about finding yourself, choosing your path, living consciously. It's about figuring out who you are and how you fit into the world. Finding your own center. Centering yourself is about taking a moment to shift your awareness into your own body, becoming aware of yourself and your surroundings, and then operating from that perspective. It's a way of going inside and becoming grounded, getting out of your head and all that chatter and into your body and becoming centered and grounded. Becoming the center is about moving women from the center of your universe to an interesting part of your universe. It's about becoming so interesting and attractive that women make you the center of their universes. Find your center. What is it that you really want for yourself in your life? If you could start all over and operate from a place where you get to choose every aspect of who you are, what you do, and where you're going, what would it look like? What do you like about your life that you want to keep? And what do you not like about yourself that you won't accept any longer? What are you tolerating? Who are you going to be in the future when you're not living halfway? Close your eyes for a minute. Who are you going to be in your future when you are not living halfway? Make a picture of it. Who are you going to be in the future when you're not living halfway, when you're not tolerating things from yourself? We're going to discuss moving your frame of reference inside later in this program, which is helpful in finding your center. But for now, I want you to think about finding your own center so you can operate from that place. These things will all tie together as you hear them more throughout this section. Mental centering. If you want to center yourself mentally, accept everything exactly as it is. Detach from the past, the future, the present. Make your outcome here at this program unimportant for a moment. Release your identification with yourself and your identity. Right now, close your eyes. I want you to detach from your past. Just let it all go. Imagine cutting the cord or something, or letting go of it. Just detach from it. Let it go. Now I want you to detach from your future. Let go of everything, all your expectations, all the things you want to have happen in the future, all the things you're committed to. And now detach from the present. Detach from what you think you're here for. Detach from everything that you're trying to do. Detach from your anxiety. Just let go of all of it. Make your outcome unimportant. Just forget it. Just relax. Just be here for a second. And finally, release your identification with yourself. Just let go of your self-image for a minute. Now notice how you feel. Emotional centering. When you exhale, when you're doing this exercise in the future, and we're going to do it several times in this program, release emotional tension, anxiety, pressure. Inhale through your nose and out, exhale through your mouth. And imagine blowing tension, anxiety out. It's a powerful visual. Exhale any ill feelings toward yourself or others. In your imagination, open up your chest and your heart and allow that opening to envelop everything and everyone around you. Close your eyes. Inhale. As you exhale, imagine opening your chest and enveloping the whole room. Do it. When you do those three things, and you learn to do them quickly, just center, it will have a profound impact on the way that you come across. You can do them very quickly once you automate the process. Acting from a centered state. Acting from a centered state. Notice everything around you, looking at the details. Consciously make meaning from these things. Look with an optimistic eye, proactively looking for things that will help you. Realize that learning is a lesson. Realize that learning a lesson by trying something is far more valuable than getting a short-term win. So look around real quick. Notice a few things that you didn't notice before. Right now, really, look around. Turn your head. Notice a few things you just didn't notice. Now consciously think about it for a second and make some meaning out of it. Make meaning that you didn't make before. See something that you didn't see before. And now look with an optimistic eye. Become optimistic and proactive and think, what can I do with the thing I just saw and made meaning from? How could you use that in your mind proactively to improve yourself and your circumstances? Think about it for a second. You can do this with anything. Once you get this mindset, learning lessons becomes faster and it becomes more effective. You get more out of them. Tuning your peripheral senses. I'm going to skip over this, but just like you have peripheral vision, you have peripheral taste, peripheral hearing, peripheral smell. Notice the taste in your mouth right now. Yeah. Now notice peripheral tastes. Notice some subtle tastes that you didn't notice before. I know that you're probably going, yeah. Next time you're out in a restaurant and you smell that, oh, it smells great. Don't just say that smells great. Stop and see if you can pick out several things that you smell. Tune your peripheral senses. Tune them. Work on them. And the last step, become the center of her universe. I've had the experience many times of meeting women and almost instantly feeling them become trapped in my gravitational pull and almost captured in orbit around me. Okay, now this is after I learned a lot of things that I didn't know before. It used to be the other way. I'd see a woman that was like incredible, and I'd be like, oh, and then I'd like circle around her. You know what I'm talking about? You're in the bar and you're like, oh, she just looked over here, I gotta move. All right, it's like the secret stalking technique. Don't even try to lie to me, I know you all do it. Now this was the opposite. This is like, wow, a woman, I just started interacting with her and it's done. She's connected. Got her. There's really nothing that she can do. I'm in control of the situation now. Now I knew that they were hooked and that there was basically nothing that could change it. It was obvious on many levels from their body language to their communication. I did things very early on that most men would consider dumb. I pushed them away. I told them they were in love with me. I told them to go bug other guys, knowing it would only make the gravity stronger. Think of the relationship of the sun and the earth. The sun is at the center of the earth's universe, but the earth could also be said to belong to the sun. Because of the sun, earth has day and night. It wakes and sleeps. It's able to support life. Most men behave like the opposite is the case. In fact, most men behave like wandering planets who are looking for a sun to orbit, someone to cling to, a place to get energy from, a central figure in their lives. They have not learned how to become their own sun, give themselves energy, and become powerful and attractive on their own. In order for a body to be in orbit around another, it must be close enough, but not too close. It must be moving. It must exert less gravity than the central body it orbits. A woman wants a man who is strong enough to attract her, hold her in his orbit, and keep her there. But the thing that really keeps her attracted, or feeling the attraction, is the tension that comes from not quite being all the way there. Not quite being all the way there. When you're needy and clingy and feeling insecure and emotional and you need a woman in your life and you finally get one, what's the thing you want to do? You want to grab her and hold on to her and not let her out of your sight. And what does that usually do? It makes her run away as fast as she possibly can. Because what you're communicating is that you cannot give yourself energy. You do not consider yourself to be the center of your universe. That just plain is not attractive to women. Not at all. They can sense that instantly. They can sense when you're plugging in the energy drain, you know. They can feel that. Don't do it. Become the center of her universe instead. The power of the center. Find your center, center yourself, become the center. Let's do a quick little practice run. Close your eyes. In the future, we're going to stand up and do this, but close your eyes. Sit up straight. Find your center. Get in touch with that part of you that knows where it's going. Doesn't care what other people think. It's on its own path. Center yourself. Relax. Notice the breath rushing in your nose. Look up with your eyes closed up to that point where your brow ridges meet. Relax your stomach. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Open your eyes. Become the center. Visualize yourself as the center and women circling around you in orbit. You can do that very quickly. The reason why we center. When you do this stuff, you can eliminate negative mental, emotional, physical distractions and anxiety. This stuff will eliminate ongoing mental chatter. It'll eliminate your worries of what others think. It'll eliminate you trying to figure out how to get approval and recognition. It'll eliminate imagined negative outcomes of situations. It'll eliminate the emotions of fear, anxiety, nervousness, conflicts between your past, present, and future, between the physical, logical, and emotional needs that you have. By finding your center and centering yourself and then becoming the center, you work to eliminate these things at the root of the problem. It's at the root. When you run into a challenge, often all it takes is just to center yourself, to get back on track. Okay, oh, I'm in control. I forgot about that. And then go on to success. The first law of success with women, the first law, is how we're going to wrap this first session up. A big fundamental mistake that guys make is not accepting things as they are. Not accepting them as they are as the first step. Not accepting yourself, not accepting women, not accepting situations. Another is letting things that are beyond your control frustrate you, victimize you, upset you, make you mad, control your thoughts and emotions. By accepting everything as it is, you make yourself powerful. By accepting everything as it is, you make yourself powerful. Center yourself, accept, then be proactive to get what you want. That's the steps. Center yourself first, accept everything, then be proactive. Write the 3 steps down. It's taken a long time to come up with that formula. Guess where you can use that? Every time you have a challenge, every time you're nervous and you're like, oh, damn, I want to go talk to her. Center. Accept the situation. You know what? She might not like me. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Now I got to be proactive. What can I do to be proactive and go make this happen right now? Center. Accept. Be proactive. When you push against things, it robs you of power. Accepting them gives you power. In this section, I'm going to introduce you to your dark side. I'd like to read a couple of parts of a book called Awareness by Anthony DeMello. The Masquerade of Charity. Charity is really self-interest masquerading under the form of altruism. You say that it is very difficult to accept that there may be times when you are not honest to goodness really trying to be loving or trustful. Let me simplify it. Let's make it as simple as possible. Let's even make it as blunt and extreme as possible, at least to begin with. There are 2 types of selfishness. The first type is the one where I give myself the pleasure of pleasing myself. That's what we generally call self-centeredness. The second is when I give myself the pleasure of pleasing others. That would be a more refined kind of selfishness. The first one is very obvious, but the second one is hidden, very hidden, and for that reason, more dangerous, because we get to feel that we're really great, but maybe we're not all that great after all. A man found an eagle's egg and put it in a nest of a barnyard hen. The eaglet hatched with the brood of chicks and grew up with them. All his life, the eagle did what the barnyard chicks did, thinking he was a barnyard chicken. He scratched the earth for worms and insects. He clucked and cackled, and he would thrash his wings and fly a few feet into the air. Years passed, and the eagle grew very old. One day he saw a magnificent bird above him in the cloudless sky. It glided in graceful majesty among the powerful wind currents, with scarcely a beat of its strong golden wings. The old eagle looked up in awe. "Who's that?" he asked. "That's the eagle, the king of the birds," said his neighbor. "He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth. We're chickens." So the eagle lived and died a chicken, for that's what he thought he was. The human shadow. The dark side. Carl Jung coined the term the shadow to describe a particular aspect of ourselves that is almost entirely unconscious. As the name suggests, this part of our inner selves can be a dark, elusive, frightening thing. As we grow up, we are confronted by parents and other authority figures who tell us that certain things are bad or wrong, and that we are bad and wrong for even thinking those things. As we develop, we repress these important aspects of ourselves and put them into the shadow. We carve them off of our personality, and we make them not us. But guess what? They stay in there. We can only become aware of our shadow by watching carefully for it, then taking advantage of the fleeting moments when it sneaks up and rattles our world. The shadow can only be seen by looking at its own shadow. A moment of intense irrational anger, a murderous thought, a feeling of envy about someone we want to be like are all clues that your shadow is active. Carl Jung said the shadow is where your personal gold is. It's the place where your greatest treasure waits for you. As you get to know your shadow, it's important to embrace, welcome, and integrate it. Only by including it will you be able to transcend it. I'd like to read to you from a book called Meeting the Shadow, which is a book that I think every adult human should read. Meeting the Shadow by Zweig and Abrams. Introducing the shadow. The personal shadow develops naturally in every young child. As we identify with ideal personality characteristics such as politeness and generosity, which are reinforced in our environments, we shape what W. Bruh Joy calls the New Year's resolution self. At the same time, we bury in the shadow those qualities that don't fit our self-image, such as rudeness and selfishness. The ego and the shadow then develop in tandem, creating each other out of the same life experience. Carl Jung saw the inseparability of ego and shadow in himself in a dream that he describes in his autobiography, Memories, Dreams, Reflections. This is Carl Jung describing the dream. "It was night in some unknown place, and I was making slow and painful headway against a mighty wind. Dense fog was flying along everywhere. I had my hands cupped around a tiny light which threatened to go out at any moment. Everything depended on my keeping this little light alive. Suddenly, I had the feeling that something was coming up behind me. I looked back and saw a gigantic black figure following me. But at the same moment, I was conscious, in spite of my terror, that I must keep my little light going through night and wind, regardless of all dangers. When I woke, I realized that at once the figure was my own shadow on the swirling mists, brought into being by the little light I was carrying. I knew, too, that this little light was my consciousness, the only light I have. Though infinitely small and fragile in comparison with the powers of darkness, it is still a light, my only light." End of quote. All the feelings and capacities that are rejected by the ego and exiled into the shadow contribute to the hidden power of the dark side of human nature. However, not all of them are what we would consider to be negative traits. According to Jungian analyst Lelaine Frey Rohn, this dark treasury includes our infantile parts, emotional attachments, neurotic symptoms, as well as our undeveloped talents and gifts. The shadow, she says, retains contact with the lost depths of the soul, with life and vitality, the superior, the universally human. Yes, even the creative can be sensed there. The dark side. Every virtue has a dark side, especially when taken to an extreme. Every strength can turn to a weakness, a fatal weakness. Confidence can become overconfidence and then hubris. Hard work can become an addiction, leading to workaholism. Don't take any strength in your life too far, because it'll turn into its opposite and possibly destroy you. The irony of becoming very powerful and very strong or very good at something is that it can take over, it can go too far, and then it can turn into an Achilles heel that destroys you. Most people do not realize this. I've watched over and over and over, and I've paid careful attention to a lot of people who have allowed their own lives, personal life, financial life, health, whatever, to be destroyed because they took something too far and they just didn't temper it. They just didn't understand. The bright side of everything, just like everything can have a dark side, every negative thing has a bright side. Arrogance can be toned down and turned into strong confidence. Liars are often fantastic at building rapport with people and persuading. A child that starts out breaking everything by taking it apart often grows up knowing how to fix anything. Use good judgment. Too many people only see the good in others and, ironically, allow this shadow trait to harm themselves over and over. They allow their own shadow trait of only seeing the good in others to destroy them. Right? We all like to see the good in other people. We don't like to see the negative. We often blind ourselves from it. Is there any particular class of humans that we would tend to project a lot of good qualities onto, assume good and only see their good side that we can think of? Attractive women, maybe? Close friend and mentor, it's no longer alive, taught me something very interesting. He said that everyone has a dark side. Everyone has negative traits and characteristics. The challenge is that we typically don't see that side of them. They don't show it to the world. They keep it private. Some people have a little dark side. Some people are half dark, half light. And some people have a huge dark side. Huge. Now, what we tend to do as people is we tend to look at them from this direction. Okay, this is where our eye is, looking this way. And when you're looking this way, what do you see? You only see the light side of all of them. They all look light when you're just casually looking. What my mentor taught me is that you need to look at them from this angle. Because from this angle, from a more objective perspective, where you know that the dark side exists and you're just looking for how much is there, you're being realistic, you're not being too idealistic, that's when you can see how much dark side is really there. So again, don't let seeing the bright side of people and only good traits become your biggest weakness. This especially applies to yourself, because guess what? A lot of us only consciously like to look at our bright sides. We don't like to look at our dark side. We don't like to even acknowledge it, which, guess what, makes it stronger. The two sides of winning in the shadow. Remember when I talked about the two different sides of winning? Winning to get what you want, winning to beat someone else. Does it bother you when another guy gets a girl that you wanted? Do you like the idea of taking a woman from another guy? Which would you enjoy more? Getting a girl that you wanted but no other guys seemed to want, or getting a girl that you knew every other guy wanted and a girl that would make every other guy jealous? You ever not been interested in a girl and then a bunch of other guys were, and then you went, she's hot? You ever done that one? Is it enough to win by getting what you want, or do you feel the need to win by beating other guys and getting the thing that they want? Raise your hand if you can identify with what I just said and you really get it. Okay. The shadow side of self-awareness. Self-awareness is a double-edged miraculous sword. Being aware of yourself allows you to see things that you need to improve, see the progress that you're making, etc. But it also allows you to feel self-conscious and insecure because you don't measure up. So self-awareness can be a huge strength, but can also be a huge weakness. When you compare yourself to others, it can be very negative or very positive, depending on how you do it. It's important to use your self-awareness to constantly work toward evolving yourself and getting what you want, and not to put yourself down, beat yourself up, or make yourself feel like less than others. You need to use your self-awareness constructively, not destructively. I'm even going to show you later about how to use self-consciousness, or that feeling that every eye is on you where you become nervous and anxious, to use that constructively, because I think you can use everything constructively, and I think it's a very useful state. Other shadow levels. I found that there are different levels to the concept of the shadow. Some are psychological, some are biological, some are physical, some are social. This is a complex topic as all levels interact with each other, but becoming aware of the levels creates its own kind of energy toward understanding and integrating them. Draw what I'm about to draw. I'll tell you what it is as I go. This is a B for biology. This is a P for psychology. This is a P for personal. And this is a G for group. Over here, next to biology, this is a U for unconscious. Next to the psychology, this is a C for conscious. Next to personal, this is a B for behavior. And next to group, this is a G for group behavior. These correspond with each other, these four levels. At the unconscious level, we have what I'll call your dark biology, the dark biology. This is the stuff that you're born with. The stuff where when another guy walks up to you and just pushes you, where you feel like killing him. And it's not something that you thought about. Okay? It's the dark biology. It's when you're talking to a woman and you really like her, and then some other guy comes up and starts talking to her, and she starts liking him more. And you... It's the dark biology. It's the dark side that's hardwired. Psychology. Dark psychology. This is the conscious part of your mind, okay? Roughly. Most of psychology is actually unconscious, but we're just going to have some correlations so you can understand the levels. Dark psychology. Dark psychology. Correlates with the conscious mind. What's some dark psychology? When you secretly want to beat somebody, and you know it's just because you want to make them look bad, and you know that, it's dark psychology. It's that dark side of you. It's not helping you or anybody else. That's the conscious mind. The next level. Dark behavior. The personal level. What's dark behavior? You ever found yourself doing something that you can't believe that you were doing? You're like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? A lot of drug addicts or drinkers, they find themselves in this one. It's like myself, my body, it's just doing something. What's going on? And then there's dark group behavior at the group level. Dark group behavior. When groups of people get together, they start doing things as a crowd. We are social animals. We're pack animals. We feel most comfortable when we're in a group, but the group takes on its own mind, and it evolved that way. And there are dark things that groups do, and if you watch the news, you'll see them. I share this with you because I want you to be conscious. I want you to just know the different levels that are going on behind the scenes. I want you to notice them as they're happening around you. Befriending your shadow. I want you to think right now of the last 3 times that you had a strong, instant, overpowering emotional response to something that took over your mind and body. Stop for a second. Might have been, you're in traffic and somebody cut you off and you're like, ah, damn it. Might be something that happened with a woman. Might be something else. Now I want you to stop and think of 3 things in life that you fear the most and how you respond when you're confronted with them. Think about the 3 things you fear most. Think about them. And if it's a mouse, fine. I won't tell anyone. It's all right if you squeal like a little girl. See, I thought that was funny. There. Thank you. Think of those things that you desire more than anything and the reasons that you desire them. Think about the things that you desire more than anything right now. Think about them. Why do you desire those things? Recognize these elements as parts of your own unconscious mind that you're not integrating into yourself, and commit to integrating them in the future. Those things, those are parts of your own unconscious mind that you need to integrate. You need to accept them. You need to welcome them into your life, because by welcoming them and accepting them, you then have power. When you try to push them away and deny them, you don't. A lot of people say, well, wait a minute. You told me to think of what I want and then to accept it. Right. Most people have not accepted the things that they really want. They haven't accepted the fact that they want them. They would deny it to people who asked them. Or they'd try to act like, well, I want it, but not that much. Finding your own gold. Finding your own gold. Carl Jung tells a story I may have shared with you before about a farmer, a Chinese farmer who was very poor, who was out plowing his field with the ox and the wooden plow, and he's plowing through the field, and bang, he hits something and it breaks his plow. And he gets incredibly mad. And he freaks out. He becomes emotional. And he starts cursing the ground, and he's cursing God and his family because the ox and the plow is all he had. And without the plow, he's screwed. He can't plant. He can't till his field. Finally, he calms down, and he's sitting there thinking about what he's going to do. And he says, what was it in the ground that broke my plow? So he goes and he looks, and he starts kind of digging around, and he feels something hard down there, so he starts digging, and he sees that there's a metal ring that the plow caught on and broke. And he thinks, that doesn't make sense. And he sees it's attached to something. The ring is attached, so he starts digging, and he realizes that it's the top of a box. He digs and he finds the edges, and the ring is attached to the top of a box. And so he digs out the box, and he pulls it out finally, and he opens it up, and it's a buried treasure that was buried hundreds of years earlier by a pirate. And that's the metaphor for your shadow and finding your own gold. Is that when those things happen to you in your life, when you go, damn it, that something happened there, there's something going on, there's something in your shadow. Those are the moments when you get a glimpse of it just for a sec, and you go, there it was, And that's when you can do some great work with yourself. That's when you can integrate it. Okay, what most people do is they get upset, and then they want to run away from the thing that made them upset. This is an exercise I actually want you to do. I want you to take some time, get a piece of paper out, and actually do this right now. So get a clean piece of paper and do this exercise. I want you to mentally, in your mind, break up the piece of paper into 6, keep the piece of paper vertical, and break it up into 6 levels. So there are 6 equal spaces that are, probably about 1.5 inches tall and 8.5 inches wide. And on the left-hand side, in the first 3 levels, I want you to, on the left-hand side, 1 per level, I want you to make a list of 3 people you admire most in your life. Just write down their name, their first name. 1 on each level. 3 people you admire most. Just do it quickly. 3 people you admire most. Now I want you to write down 3 things about each person that you really admire. What are the 3 qualities or traits that they have about each of those 3 people? And you can write these over to the right in the space. Write down the 3 traits or qualities that you admire or like or are attracted most to in each of those 3 people that you admire most. And write down just 1 or 2 word answers. Take a minute to do this. Three for each. Now, I want you to make a list of the 3 people in your life that you disrespect or hate the most in the next 3 spaces. You can just write down a first name or something if you don't want this to be, put a code name down if you think they might find this someday. So write down the names of the 3 people you hate or disrespect or don't like the most. And finally, I want you to write down 3 things about each of those people that you disrespect or dislike the most. What are the 3 things about each person that you disrespect or hate or dislike the most? The qualities, the traits, the characteristics. What are they? Write them down. Okay, good. Just finish up. Get the traits. Even if you don't have all of them, just get the ones you really dislike. I want to talk to you about the concept of projection. Projection. Psychology of projection. Our bodies, minds, and emotions are an active part of how we perceive the world and the meaning we make of the events around us. There isn't an objective reality that everyone can agree on. Okay, so you have to understand that this mental, emotional, psychological system, it affects how we perceive things. Okay, the filters that we have, the way that we see things. I read an interesting story that when I think the Spanish, when they came over to what is now South America or Mexico, when they showed up with their ships, that the natives couldn't see the ships. They just couldn't see them because they didn't. Their systems just didn't have what it took to see a ship in it. Never seen one before. Didn't make any sense. Most of our perceptive ability is actually programming that is learned, not the objective, accurate, perfect set of equipment we think it is. So think about that for a sec. Most of our perceptive ability is programming that is learned. It's programming. Programming. If you hadn't learned what red was, you would not perceive the tablecloths on the tables here as being reddish. They would just be something that was happening around you. It would just be one of the things that you didn't notice. Most of our perception is programming. A loud bang outside will be perceived as a car backfiring by one person, a car accident by another, and a gunshot by another. All projections. Projecting the inner programming out onto the event. You can only perceive something relative to what is already programmed in your mind. This is why we often see things that aren't there and miss things that are, because our minds are playing an active role in their being there. Projection comes up often in relationships between men and women. We often project our own negative aspects onto people we dislike, and we project our own positive qualities onto those we are attracted to. This leads many to problems, as we're not recognizing our own dark side or seeing our own light side when we do this. Carl Jung said, I learned this from Tad James, projection is perception. Projection is perception. Here's the gift. The shadow and projection exercise that I just had you do. You didn't know it was a shadow and projection exercise, probably. I'd like to suggest that when I asked you to imagine someone that you admire, then list the 3 things you admire about them, that you unconsciously went into your shadow and projected 3 things about yourself onto that other person. I'd like to also suggest that you have chosen 3 aspects of yourself that are your own strengths that you don't acknowledge enough, you don't lead with enough, and you don't develop enough. I'd like to suggest that when I asked you to imagine someone that you don't admire and that you disrespect, that you again unconsciously went into your shadow and projected 3 things about yourself onto that person. I'd like to also suggest that you have chosen 3 aspects of yourself that are your own weaknesses that you don't acknowledge, come to grips with, and confront in yourself, and that these 3 aspects of you are holding you back in life to an extent that you cannot even imagine. Read the list of people that you admire and the traits you admire most about them. Then look into a mirror and review these things in your mind, realizing that these are your own personal greatest assets. Affirm to yourself that you'll lead with, capitalize on, and develop these strengths more instead of only projecting them onto others. Now read the list of people you don't admire and the traits you disrespect most about them. Think about yourself and review these things in your mind. Look in the mirror. Realize that these things are, to some degree, aspects of yourself that you previously didn't want to accept, acknowledge, or admit to yourself or to others. As you think about yourself, allow your body and mind to relax and make a personal commitment to begin working with these areas of yourself more, instead of only projecting them onto others. You're going to find a partner right now, somebody you don't know. Find someone, if you can't find someone you don't know, find somebody that you don't know very well that you can do this exercise with. Confidently tell them about 3 of your strengths. Confidently tell them about 3 of your strengths. The strengths that you've projected onto others and haven't acknowledged in yourself, but that you're now going to lead with, develop, and acknowledge in the future, and use more as the basis for your own success. So take 3 of the things off the list of 9 that you should have and say to the other person, you know what? I am a good leader, and I am going to lead more. I'm a good communicator. I'm a strong communicator. You know what? I'm going to be proud of that. I'm going to lead with my communication more. Then authentically directly tell them about 3 of the repressed dark traits that you have projected onto the other people. Say, you know what? I'm not the most honest person I know. Or you know what? I get emotional way too often. And accept it. Just deal with it. Okay? Look at them right now. Look at your lists. And realize that the things that you see as strengths in others are really strengths that you have in yourself. More about the shadow and the unconscious. Unconscious blind spots. I'm going to suggest that everything about you is an unconscious blind spot. If you do it, it's a blind spot. And it almost has to be. You're doing 1,000 little things unconsciously, habitually, and constantly that you aren't aware of. And worse, you're programmed to do them, and you think that they're perfectly normal. You probably would think they're perfectly normal if you realized that you were doing them. You must actually learn to see your blind spots and actually change how you think, change how you communicate, change how you behave, change how you respond. A good place to start is by getting feedback from tough, loving friends and mentors about areas that you wouldn't normally ask about. Ask others to be honest with you and tell you about your weaknesses. After a month, ask them again and get an update. Continue to get honest, critical feedback from others if you want it to continue to improve over time. This has been a tough one for me, personally. I learned this concept from a book called The Paradox of Success. It's a book about success and the dark side, the shadow of success. The paradox of success is that success often leaves you feeling empty. Pretty much everything about you is a blind spot. It's a blind spot. You can't see it because our amazing minds and systems, they automate things, and they automate them quickly. You can learn, automate, goes right into the unconscious process, bang, you're doing it. The calculus and incredible math required just to move your arm around it's incomprehensible, it's unbelievable, but yet you do it like it's nothing, just with a thought. So everything is an unconscious blind spot. And by getting good, tough, loving, critical feedback from friends and people who don't think you're that cool, you'll get a lot of insight. I can't tell you how valuable this is. Ask some people to know you that know you. Say, hey, you know what? I think I'm pretty great, but how great do you think I am? When you get negative feedback, when somebody tells you that, you're kind of a bastard, it sticks with you, especially if it's from somebody who you care about. And it can be very constructive. Then there are perceptual gaps. As humans, we have several self-deception systems built into our minds. These are systems that are designed to deceive ourselves and from the reality around us. There's too much going on around us for us to possibly take it all in. Okay, so where the nerve bundles connect to the back of each eye, we have blind spots. We're not aware of these spots because our minds compensate for them and because each eye covers the blind spot of the other's eye. We also have blind spots when it comes to all other senses as well. Draw a dot kind of up in the upper left-hand side like this. And then draw a plus or a cross on the upper right-hand side like this. Now, if you've got a pad, rip the piece of paper out so you can move it around. Or if you really want to leave it in there, just grab the whole pad. But just rip it out. It's easier that way. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to close your left eye only, and I want you to hold the piece of paper in front of you with the dot directly in front of your nose, right in front of like the bridge of your nose, so it's at eye level, the dot. Now I want you to hold it out about 12 inches in front of your face so that it's perfectly level with the cross out to the right. And I want you to move it in and out away from you until the cross disappears. Go very slowly. You'll find that somewhere around 12 inches or so, if they're spaced apart kind of like this, the cross will disappear. It's gone. But you don't perceive a gap there. It's not like it's black or it's dark or there's a black hole. It's just gone. Your brain averages the information and creates a void. It's gone. The reason why we have the blind spot is because the nerve bundle that connects to the back of your eye, that plugs in, that sends all the messages to your brain, there are no receptors right there. That's where the nerves plug in. And so there's a spot. It's a blind spot. Most people aren't aware of them. We have two eyes, and they overlap at that point. So we don't actually have any spot that's blind if we have both of our eyes working. Interesting. How about this? The love of stupid humor. Look at that shape. It's beautiful, isn't it? Anybody know what that is? Anybody know what this is? You want to guess? Okay. What if I were to suggest to you that you have seen this shape at least 100 times in the last 100 days? 100 times in the last 100 days. Now do you know what it is? Okay. What if I were to suggest to you that you have seen it every day that you've been alive and had your eyes open. Every day of your life. Anybody know what it is yet? What if I were to suggest to you that you see it every time you open your eyes? Any guesses? Yell it out. Anybody have a nose that's shaped like that? That would be more, I think, referred to as a proboscis. What if I were to suggest that you were seeing it before I drew the picture, in the moment, right before I drew it? Anybody know? This is the shape of your stereo field of vision. Okay? In other words, literally the way I figured this shape out, I tried to kind of guess it a bunch of times as I was figuring this out. I've never seen or heard of this anywhere, but I was very interested in things that are obvious but you can't see them. So I actually went up to my whiteboard and I got my nose right here and I traced the shape and I closed my one eye and I drew the shape and I closed the other eye and drew the other shape. That's the shape of your stereo field of vision, the shape that you can see with both eyes. Does that make sense? Everybody get what I'm talking about there? That's been happening your whole life. Every time you've opened your eyes, it's been there and you've never seen it. Now you're going to see it a lot. I encourage you to draw it, to think about that, okay? This is your two eye sockets, the edge of them, and then this is the shape that your nose makes and where it comes together down here. How many other things are like that in your life? How many other things? How many other things have perceptual gaps like that where you just never even noticed them and they're there, right there in front of you the whole time? A lot. You got to start paying attention to things. Notice. There are holes in our other senses, just like the holes in our visual field. Okay, I could demonstrate them to you, but I won't. In addition to blind spots, there are also events that are outside the range of our perceptual equipment. There are movements too fast or too subtle to feel, sounds that are too high or too low to hear, and scents that are too faint to smell. Self-deception, just like there are gaps or holes in our perception, there are gaps or holes in our thinking, our memory, our mental associations, and our abilities. The problem is that many people do not perceive these gaps or limitations, and they swear that they don't exist. There are probably people in this room, I've seen a couple of people looking at the thing, they still can't figure the blind spot out. They're like, oh, I don't have one. We humans often have memories that aren't true, feel sensations in our bodies that came from our imaginations, and assign meaning to things that are completely off base. Self-deception has a very important purpose. It keeps us sane and functioning in a very complex world. There's just too much going on for our brain to deal with all of the information, so it uses various tools to selectively distort and deceive you in order to make things efficient and effective. You maybe heard me talk about this concept a little bit. But often we deceive ourselves in ways that are not useful, in ways that actually wind up holding us back and harming us. We make up stories to justify our inability to succeed. We assign responsibility for our lives to others, and we become mental victims of imaginary oppressors. The process of self-deception is very difficult to detect because it not only is transparent and happening all the time, it also erases its own tracks. To become aware of your own negative self-deception patterns, you must pay careful attention and attend to it on an ongoing basis. Why did I show you the shape of the stereo field of vision? I mean, it's like a little goofy, trivial thing, right? It's really not. Since I figured that out, and I've only been thinking about the stereo field of vision shape here for a few weeks, okay? I've been showing it to people every time somebody walks into my house. I go, what is that? I show them the whiteboard. They're like, I don't know. And I go through the whole thing. It's amazing. Well, you can learn a lot from that. You can think, wow, if I need to see something, I need to get it in the stereo field of vision. I need to pay attention. I can't just casually glance over things. I need to actually, if it's really important, I need to get that shape around it. It's an interesting thought. I'm showing it to you because there are a lot of things like this in your own life. Gaps in your own perceptions, programming that you have that only you know about. You're the only one that can detect it. And when you do detect it, you need to sit down just like I did with the whiteboard and draw the shape so you can say, wow, there it is. I recommend keeping a journal. I talk about it a lot. When these things come up, when you get a shadow issue, write it down, talk about it, think about it, work on it, go to work on it, make it better, improve it. By spotting these things and taking them out of that place where you're not aware of them, you then have power over them. Negative self-deception habits. You know, I find it interesting that people are always doing things that they're not aware of, going through patterns that they don't realize, deceiving themselves about them, and then denying that they exist, which is interesting. And one of the things that I find really fascinating is that you're usually getting a secondary payoff from the thing that you're doing that you don't want to acknowledge. There's usually some payoff you're getting out of it. Maybe it's a perspective that allows you to justify yourself, feel like you're better than other people, whatever it is, you're getting a secondary payoff. Anybody see the movie Adaptation? It's a great movie. I recommend that everybody watch it. It's kind of a freak show. But one thing that's interesting is Nicolas Cage plays himself. He plays twin brothers, so he plays two characters. And one of them is kind of the brilliant genius writer, and the other brother is actually a pretty brilliant genius writer too, but just not as good. And the other brother is pretty much casual, cool, good with the ladies. And you get to see the way that they interact, but it's the same guy playing both parts, so it's very interesting to see the two of them together in the way they act around women. But there was one part, there are a couple of parts where they show the main character that he plays thinking, what he's thinking. And he's talking to this girl, and they're out in his car, and he had taken her out on a date, and she's getting ready to go in, and she's like, well, you want to come in for a second? He's like, no, I got some work to do. I should really go home. And she's like, okay. And she's like, all right. So she gets out of the car, and he was just, nervous. She goes in, and then the self-talk starts in his head, and he starts going, oh, man, you're an idiot. You should have gone in. What are you thinking? You're such a dumbass. You know what? You should go up there right now and open the door and kiss her. Man, that would be romantic. That would be great. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to get out. I'm going to walk up to the door. She's going to open it. I'm going to kiss her. And then he puts the car in gear and he drives off. One of the things that's so profound about the movie is that they show things like that. And you go, whoa, this person who wrote this movie gets it. They understand something that most of us would never acknowledge. Have you ever done something where you thought of it and you go, okay, I'm about to do this, I'm going to go talk to her, and then you... yeah. Right? So the payoffs here are complex, but you need to become aware of them. Idealizing women as self-deception. One recurring theme with men is their pattern of idealizing women, projecting positive qualities onto them that they repress in themselves, deceiving themselves about her flaws, then becoming emotionally involved with a woman and using her to fill in holes of their own character. Anybody ever done that? Raise your hand if you've ever done that one. Thank you. Of course, the women always wind up being more imperfect than the man could have imagined. The image that the man had turns out to be completely inaccurate, and he ultimately winds up hurting himself badly, and often the woman as well. Part of this recurring theme is the part of us as men that want to rescue women who are in trouble, are damaged, and are broken. Unfortunately, trying to rescue a woman who you've idealized beforehand is almost certainly a losing battle. Trying to rescue a woman who you've idealized is a losing battle. Make yourself a note if that's one of those ones that hits home. Everyone should be writing. Trying to rescue a woman you've idealized is a losing battle. You must first become brutally honest with yourself, then learn to see women more accurately, and then choose your relationships carefully based on a more mature foundation of knowledge and understanding. Idealizing women is self-deception. Idealizing women is deceiving yourself. It hurts you and it hurts them. Avoidance and self-medication. More happy, happy, joy, joy. We humans are incredibly good at avoiding even the thought of things we don't want to face. You ever had something come up and you go, you know what, not only do I want to do that, I don't even want to think about that right now. Because the thought of it is too much. When we do have to face things that make us uncomfortable, we can go to great lengths to tune them out and numb ourselves so we don't feel their effects. One way we deal with issues we don't want to confront is called self-medicating. We can do this psychologically and emotionally and behaviorally. We self-medicate with things like food, sex, fantasy, sympathy from others, guilt from others, attention from others. You ever had something that was just freaking you out and bugging you, you were anxious, you had a lot of anxiety, and you just ate something to make you feel better? You ever have that kind of thing where you didn't know where to turn, you felt desperate, so you just called someone and you just needed some attention to distract you. You needed someone to tell you you're okay? Self-medicating. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be if it's taken to an extreme. If you know when you're doing it and you get it, I don't mean like, okay, I'm doing heroin again, I get it. Okay, I'm not talking that kind of self-medication here. More things you can do to self-medicate. Excuses, complain, dissociate from responsibility. The reality is that it's usually easier to deal with the actual issue than it is to deal with the negative psychological, emotional, and physical patterns that we use to avoid. Deal with the underlying issue and be aware when you're medicating yourself.